What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. Does anybody else feel like we're just stuck in an episode of Scooby-Doo? Like, that's what it feels like. Well, let's see who Pochettino really is. Old man Potter, let's see who Potter really is. Old man Tuchel, let's see who Tuchel really is. Old man Sarri. Like, it feels like nothing has changed since Sarri came in. We are so possession-based with lack of creativity up front. Ever since Hazard left, we've done nothing. And it's the same. Good performance last weekend against Liverpool. Got a lot of positives coming out of it, thinking, all right, how are we going to build upon that? We're going to West Ham, which, going to the London Stadium, it can be a difficult trip. West Ham Stadium is a bit of a very overpowering atmosphere based on what I can tell. So it's going to be a difficult environment, but the team itself, they've not done well in the transfer market. They've not brought in anything for what they lost. And we saw last week they got pretty well handled. They obviously didn't get whooped or anything, but they certainly did not show up last week. So we had a chance to build upon a pretty good start, a pretty good performance against Liverpool, and instead we came out and did what we did last year. We didn't build upon a positive performance. We went out, strutted around, knocked the ball around a little bit, kept it moving, got in the final third. All of a sudden, all of our guys in the final third just turn into the dumbest lack of creative talent I've ever seen. So what's changed? Because I'm still seeing the exact same stuff I saw with Potter last season. New players, new manager, same problems. So what's happening? Where is it? Is it the recruitment? Are we not doing well with our recruitment? Obviously, we're not doing well as far as recruiting players that don't get injured, because that's something I'll get to. But we should have a whole new feel about the team. The energy level today felt the same as last season. And it didn't feel that way in the first game. So what happened? Pochettino's supposed to be all about getting these guys fit and ready to play and ready to, run their legs off because they have so much fitness and so much energy. We were getting outpaced most of the time. Jackson went from outpacing Konate and Van Dijk to not even being able to outpace Aguirre or whatever his name is. And I guarantee he's not faster than either Konate or Van Dijk based on what I've seen. Might be a little bit better of a reader of the game than those two, but Jackson should be able to outpace him, should be able to outpace Zuma. Didn't do any of that today. When we got in the final third, felt like all of our touches were too heavy, too long, our shots were weak, right at the defender, wide. Like, last season, we had such a lack of creativity and a lack of finishing. Surely that would be the first thing that Pochettino would get right. Surely that would be the first thing that we work on and we get it down, and in preseason scored some great goals. We were getting goals consistently. Now we're relying on one of our defenders to score off a set piece, or in this case, one tiny little moment of brilliance from a player who's now probably going to be out for 5 to 6 months. So, are people scared to score because they don't want to end up like Chukwuemeka? Because is there some known curse around the club that if you score, if you play well, you get injured for the next several months? Is that what's going on? Because that's the only logical explanation for what I saw today. Because it was awful. And most of my excitement for this season just took a huge hit. Because I saw exactly the same stuff that I saw all of last year between Tuchel and Potter. I saw the same exact thing, and I'm thinking there's no way. After the first 10 minutes, I'm thinking, okay, we started this way against Liverpool, we'll pick it up. We picked it up, I'm thinking, awesome, here we go. And then we missed a penalty, and it's like we reverted right back to last season. Everything was so pedestrian, it was so predictable. Lack of creativity, a lack of good quality touches. It all fell apart. And all I can think is, okay, cool, so this team still has a lack of strong mentality to the point where one little bump in the road and we just revert back to same. We don't know what we're doing. We can't break down a team like West Ham, who in my opinion probably going to be fighting off relegation again this year. because they didn't improve much from last season, and they're going to be in Europe again, which is going to be a tough ask for them, especially without Rice. So, yeah, we can't handle our business against West Ham, who went down a man with like 20 minutes left. We're not going to be able to handle most teams this season. So, with all that being said, let's look individually, because unfortunately most players dropped off for some reason. There's only like 2, I would say, that didn't drop off. So Sanchez in goal, he actually did make a couple saves today, which he didn't do last weekend. But I mean, the second goal, he's got to save that one. I didn't actually see the penalty because I stopped watching after, I think it was like the 90th minute. It just, the writing was on the wall. I'm like, I know what's gonna happen. But yeah, so he did make a couple saves though, but he's still not saving us, which is it was my problem with Kepa. You know, he would make a couple of the saves he should be making, the saves that are within his reach. He'll do that fine, but he's not making those game-changing saves that you would see like De Gea do for Man U in his prime, or Alisson do for Liverpool last weekend, even what he did for Liverpool. Like, we don't have a keeper like that right now. Sanchez is not that keeper. So are we looking at getting another keeper? Because the only thing I've heard after we got Caicedo and Lavia is that we're looking to get Olise from Palace. So we're going and overpaying for this talent that's not really going to help us much, instead of going and getting a starting keeper. Because Sanchez, he's not a starting keeper. He's fine. He did okay at Brighton. He's not a starting keeper. There's a reason he got upseated at Brighton. Because he's not world class, and we need world class. So, kind of frustrated with whoever's in charge of transfers that we are not getting that job done. Because right now, he's our only option. And in my opinion, he's not a great option. He's decent. Back 3 again for whatever reason, because I guess, I don't know. Again, we played all preseason with a 4-2-3-1. Might as well start the season first 2 games with a back 3, because we worked on that all preseason. But Disasi on the right side, I mean, hit or miss today. He had some decent moments defensively. He had some moments of strong play in the back, but he also had his moments of weakness too. I mean, the second goal, he should be closing that down. I know Antonio is obviously a great striker. He should be closing that down. He should not be letting him have that shot. Instead, he lunges in, gets megged, and you got to do better than that, unfortunately. And there were several moments where it felt like it was a little too easy to go down that right side. I feel like whenever we play with the back 3, he and James last weekend and he and Gusto today, it feels like he's not connecting well with them. You know, so when we do have the wing back set up, that it doesn't really work out for him. He's better whenever he's a little bit more middle with a right back on the other side of him, because I feel like he's not doing a good job of tracking what's in behind him either. So Silva, one of the few players that didn't have much of a drop off. I mean, he wasn't great today, and honestly, you know, Antonio did have a couple moments of, I guess, joy against him, and that's, while he is still a great defender and he reads the game well, obviously he's not at the same fitness level that he's been in the past. So I would expect a striker like Antonio, if he gets a good run on him, probably have a little bit of joy. But I still thought he did fine today. Honestly, a lot of his game was just knocking the ball around because we had so much possession. So he didn't. Most of what I noticed from him was just him passing. And then Colwill on the left side, he doesn't quite look ready for the Premier League. Antonio just absolutely bodied him for the first goal, or for the second goal. It was just way too easy to get him off the ball. And who was? Oh no, never mind. The corner was the first goal, and I already know who was responsible for that one. But no, he just, I don't know. Based on what I was hearing in preseason and leading into the season, all the rave about him, it sounded like he was just going to come in and absolutely be a dominant force back there for us. And honestly, I think with this back 3, he's our third best defender. I think between him, Silva, and Disasi, if I was going with a back 2, it would be Silva and Disasi at the moment. So I don't know where all the rave and all the hype came from. I mean, I know he had a pretty decent season at Brighton last year, but I'm not seeing that game-changing defender that a lot of people claim he can be. At left back, I think he does okay. because I think he does get down the line and he does move the ball pretty well, but defensively he's a little weak, and you can't be with most of the strikers in the Premier League. Right wing back Gusto. I mean, not really a terrible game. The problem is because I'm comparing him to Reece James. That's always going to be the issue. And I know he's younger, but I mean, so is James. I think he's 20, 21, and Gusto's 19, maybe, possibly. So, unfortunately, I just don't think he's on the same level. And I know he's supposed to be more of a backup option, maybe coming off the bench. But the fact is, we know James has had injury problems in the past. So we needed to bring in a backup that's going to be close to the same level. Or if he's not going to be the same level as James at a wingback position, then bring in somebody who can play a better fullback position or a better wing position, something along those lines. We didn't do that. We brought in Gusto, and he moves the ball fine enough, but he also gives it away a little too much. And defensively, he's a little naive, dives into some challenges, but he's at least fast and strong enough to make up for that most of the time. He's just kind of a hit or miss player, and we don't need that where our aspirations are. You know, our aspirations are challenging for the top 4 this season, getting back up into that race. And right now, Gusto feels like he'd do better at a mid-table sort of side. And we don't want to be that again, because that's where we were last season. Honestly, we're a little worse than mid-table, to be fair. On the left side, Chilwell, I thought he dropped off majorly today. I mean, last week against Liverpool, I thought he was absolutely dominant. And part of that is, you know, we know how bad Alexander-Arnold can be on the right side and how much space he gives to people out there because he doesn't track runs very well. Even so, though, I mean, Chilwell, I've seen enough from him in the past where he can still be effective even if he's facing a pretty good defender back there. And I feel like he just didn't show any of that today. Honestly, I know he wasted a big chance last week against Liverpool with a poor touch. Today, he had probably one of our best chances. Ball falls to him, not even, I think it was about 10 yards out. And he just right foot passes it basically right at the defender. I'm assuming he was going for placement, but he wasted that chance. Because it should have been easy. A player of his quality, he should be tucking that away because he sees the keeper nowhere near getting to a chance to save it. All he has to do is beat the defenders, and he couldn't do that. He put it right at the first one in front of him. That's not good enough. And honestly, most of his play today was just, it felt like he was moving the ball decently out wide, but I don't know, outside of a couple moments, and most of it was during that good run of play right before we scored and right after we scored, before Enzo missed the penalty. In that chunk of time, I would say most everybody was playing well. Outside of that is where a lot of players, Chilwell included, really dropped off. So second half, I mean, I don't remember much of anything from him, and then he got subbed. And deserved, to be fair, because I cannot remember anything he did positive in the second half. In the midfield, Gallagher, huge drop-off this week. I thought he was kind of average against Liverpool, you know, did decently well in the second half, but first half was cause of a lot of our problems, and today, obviously, it wasn't totally his fault, but he was the one that was supposed to be picking up Aguirre, didn't do it, gave up a goal, and then majority of his stuff in the midfield wasn't good enough. I feel like he was being too easily outmuscled, too easily beat, wasn't really moving the ball quick enough in there. I don't know, what I expect from our midfielders, I don't see that in Gallagher. I've always seen him more as an attacking type of mid. He's got a lot of work. He's got a lot of energy. You put him up front, puts a lot of pressure on that back line, and then he gets the ball right outside the box, and he can hit the ball pretty well from there. You drop him deeper, he's going to cause issues. He's not that great on the ball, you know, with his passing, with his dribbling. He's knocked off of it too easily. I just don't see him as a more holding mid, but that's where Potter tried to play him. That's where Lampard, I think, tried to play him, and now that's where Pochettino's trying to play him. And he's not that type of player. I've not seen anything that's convinced me that he's that type of player. I know, obviously, Caicedo's coming in, probably going to take that role, but still, I mean, why put a more attack-minded, good goal-scoring midfielder? Why put him so deep where he's going to be so far away from the goal that he's not going to be effective? So, and then Fernandez, you know, overall his play was fine, but that penalty, man, if you take the penalty away, I'd rate him probably like 6.5, 7 out of 10, maybe if I'm being generous. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. He did his job fine today. He kept the ball moving, had some good, dangerous passes. That penalty drops him down to like a 4 in my book. Because I'm sorry. First of all, I'll just go ahead and show you guys. I hate this little number. I hate this little number right here. What are you doing? Are you dancing? Are you doing a little dance for the keeper, hoping to hypnotize him? Like, all that ever does, in my opinion, is it psychs the player out. I hardly ever see players, outside of maybe one or two, that do that and are effective with it almost all the time. It's so stupid, and I hate it, and it makes you look even dumber whenever you do that. You do this long little run-up that takes like 5 to 10 seconds, and then keeper saves it, or you miss. Because all of that, now all of a sudden you look like an idiot. Like, just put somebody on there who knows how to step up, push the pressure away, and just put it in a corner. Because the thing is, if you find somebody that can put it in either corner effectively most of the time, I guarantee he'll score at least 90% of his penalties. Because as long as you put it in the corner, it's going to take the keeper already being on the side that you've chosen to save that. But if you pick your side, don't give any sort of hint toward it, just look at the ball, know which side you're going, left or right, and just put it in that corner. Regardless of what the keeper does, I guarantee you will score at least 90% of your penalties. If you're a type of person who can push that pressure away, it's so easy to score a penalty. And yet, here we are. We turn to somebody for our first penalty. We pick this midfielder, and he does this goofy little run-up, puts it right at the perfect height for whatever his name is, Areola. Perfect height for him to make the save. Great. God, that's the thing. Because when Fernandez stepped up, my mind was like, okay, so I know he's technically taken the Jorginho role and is doing that better than Jorginho, but I don't know if he's necessarily a penalty kick taker, because that's one of the only things that Jorginho did well consistently. So, is he just that good in training? And he couldn't handle the pressure, and I don't know. But in my mind, I trust one of the more veteran players. I trust Silva, maybe Chilwell, to step up and bury that with no problem. But we have so many young players who, in my opinion, the pressure gets to you, especially away from home. You got all these fans yelling behind the goal, a lot of distractions. It's very easy for a young player to lose their focus because most of them are still kind of growing into that professional state. I know, obviously, Fernandez is not like a teenager, but he's still younger. So I don't know why not turn to somebody who has been playing at this level for longer. It's just, I don't know. I'm frustrated because, again, I thought he was fine today, Fernandez, but that penalty was so bad, it pissed me off. And that was honestly the turning point, too. That was the moment that I knew that West Ham, they found their footing again, almost immediately went down the field and had a good chance. And I'm just thinking, well, there goes our... Unless Pochettino can turn this around at halftime and get them back out there and motivated, this could be where West Ham find their footing and they manage to take it back to us. And then sure enough, second half comes around and nothing turned around. We went straight back to what we saw last season. Lack of energy, lack of creativity. A lot of that comes from Fernandez. You got to put that penalty away. You got to kick them in the teeth while they're down. Because if you don't, you let them back into the game. You let them have that energy. So, done ranting about that now. Front three, Sterling on the right side. Honestly, the only player that didn't drop off from last weekend at all. And mainly because I wasn't that impressed with him last weekend. I thought he was probably one of our worst players out there. Very uncreative, very, I don't know. Didn't really see much from him that got me excited. Today, wow. This was the Sterling I expected us to get. Dangerous, taking on players, driving down the line, wins us a penalty at one point too. And I don't know how much of that is because Gusto is not the same player as James, so he's not making the same runs down the. He's more staying back or tucking inside. So maybe that gave Sterling the freedom to be the wing in this match, whereas most of the time James is our wide player out there. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or if he just, had a little chip on his shoulder that he wanted to get off and just wanted to show people what he was all about. But God, he obviously second half dropped off a little bit, but everybody did. But definitely the first half when we were in that rut, in our good run, he was the player that was driving us forward most of the time. So yeah, if he can give us more of that, that would be great. Because if not, if he put out a pretty lackluster performance today, his position probably would have been in danger. Not saying that we have a lot of great talent that can take his spot, but I mean, at some point you got to start producing, or you got to go to the bench because you're not giving us anything. Today showed he still can at least give us something, but he needs to start doing it on a more consistent basis. On the left side, Chukwuemeka obviously got himself the goal, but then also got himself hurt in a challenge. I will say, unfortunately, while the goal does put him near the top of good players today, West Ham's first goal is a bit on him. And I know he's not a defender, but if you're going to do that zonal marking, you got to make sure whatever your zone is, you cover that zone. And you could see him. They pointed it out at halftime too. You could see he stepped up closer to the keeper, and now it's just Gallagher and Aguirre 1v1. And Gallagher, he can try to do a little bit more to put him off. He's not winning that battle though. Aguirre is still going to get that header, probably on target more than likely. All Gallagher can do is maybe hope to put him off to enough to where maybe it hits the post, or maybe it puts it a little closer to Sanchez to make the save. Chukwuemeka, you've got to make sure you cover your zone. And you stepping up, jumping, ball's now over your head, that's on him. So, gave away a goal, got ourselves a goal, and then got himself hurt. Kind of a very all-over-the-place match for him, and unfortunately, like I said, probably going to be out for several months, because the fact that he couldn't even walk on that leg tells me it's a knee injury. So either MCL or ACL tear, more than likely, and it's just another player that we've lost for a while after he put in a pretty decent performance today. Jackson, though, I don't think I've seen a striker drop off this quickly before. Like, even Lukaku, he gave us at least, 4 or 5 decent matches before his performances dropped off a cliff. Jackson, decent preseason performances, decent performance against Liverpool. What was that today? I mean, God, I feel bad now because I was raving about him. Some people were calling him the next Drogba. Like, I was so excited to see more of him. I'm thinking, yeah, we got ourselves a complete full striker for the first time since Costa. And now I'm looking at him going, God, are you going to be worse than Lukaku? Because his missed chances in the last game, I was willing to forgive. Because one, pressure, he's kind of growing into the team still a little bit. He's finding his feet in the Premier League. Give him some time. He'll find his shooting boots. But if you're going to miss all these chances and also not really work for us, not be able to beat one defender, what good are you? He had one good run, could have won us a penalty, but he was offside. That's the only positive thing I can think from him today. Everything else was either negative, or he didn't help us, or he was standing and waiting. Like, the performance we saw last weekend against Liverpool, that's the Jackson that I saw in preseason. I was excited to see more of. Today, I don't know who this guy is. This is not the Jackson that I saw previously. This is some other random guy. This is Lukaku's little brother. Like, the way he was standing up there and doing nothing, it reminded me so much of Lukaku. It was so frustrating the amount of times we have the ball, we're looking for options, there's no movement up top. And I don't know where that came from. Because, again, he wasn't doing this last weekend. Last weekend he was taking on players, he was dropping deep to get the ball, he was trying to make things happen. Today he's like standing up there, makes a run, didn't work out, alright, well, walk back. I mean, even the goal, you could see he makes a run, ball goes out to Chilwell, he's off the field, Chilwell takes on the guy. Instead of him instantly getting back on the field, he's still off the field as Chilwell's driving down the line. So thankfully, he does have enough time to get back. But, I mean, you're not in a position to help us right now. And he's just taking his time to get back on the field. Thankfully, it didn't go anywhere near him when Chilwell put the cross in before it fell out to Chukwuemeka. Because if it went anywhere near him, there's a chance they could look at that and be like, you know what, he affected the play, and he's offside. So I mean, granted, this is one bad, one good performance from him, so 50-50. We'll see which one he leans more toward the more we see him. But this is a very concerning performance for me. Because if he's got this in his game, that means there's a good chance there could be some games where we just can't get anything going because he's not doing anything up there for us. And if he's going to have these games, even if they are, just every now and then, that's still not enough to challenge for top 4. Because we got to put in consistently good performances in this league if we want to have any chance of getting back up there. We can't have this, we had a great performance against Liverpool, and then we dropped off against West Ham next week. But then next week against Luton we'll do great. But then, the following week we'll do okay. Maybe get a draw out of it. Like, we can't do that. We have to go in every single match and get something out of it. We have to get points. We have to win games. We still haven't done that this season so far. First 2 matches. So anyways, moving on to the subs. Mudryk came on. I didn't really watch much of the second half because I was very frustrated. I was also driving at the time, so I was kind of like trying to at least hear what was going on. If anything exciting was happening, I'd look down quickly and look back up. I know it's not safe. Whatever. I'm a diehard fan. I'll die hard to watch the game if I have to. But yeah, I don't really remember him. I don't remember hearing his name much for most of the second half, so I feel like probably didn't offer us much of anything. I'm not really interested in watching the game back to see if I'm wrong about that, but I'm willing to bet he probably didn't give us much of anything. Who was next? I know he came on for Chukwuemeka at halftime. I think, was Caicedo the next one on? I think he was. I'm pretty sure it was Caicedo next for Chilwell. And that pushed Gallagher up, and it became more of a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 sometimes. Caicedo, I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I was really hoping Liverpool were going to beat us to that signing because we broke the record that we broke when we bought Fernandez. We broke the record again to get this guy in. This guy who can't even handle a challenge from Antonio. He got stripped at least twice that I saw. And then I heard that apparently he gave away the penalty that got West Ham their 3rd goal. So, God, that whenever I heard Liverpool were going to beat us to him, and beat our offer for him, I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you, Liverpool, so much for stealing this from us because we do not need to overspend for another average Brighton talent. And then we went ahead and were like, no, we're going to top that one. And I'm like, why? We already overspent on Cucurella. We probably overspent on Sanchez based on what I'm seeing so far. And now we are breaking the record to sign Caicedo. He did fine at Brighton. Most of these players do. Most of these players do okay at these mid-table clubs because they fit within that system. You take them out of those clubs and you put them at the bigger clubs. Most of the time, their performances do not match what we saw at the previous club. That's how it is. And today showed my thoughts on that, probably right. Granted, still early days, maybe he can improve, but based on what I saw today, he might not even been worth $15 million, let alone $115 million. Madueke came on. I don't really remember hearing about him much, and then Burstow I think was just kind of a last roll of the dice. Let's throw on our young striker, see if he can surprise anybody, and obviously he didn't. So yeah, I mean, all in all, obviously a loss is always disappointing, doesn't matter who it's against, but especially in this manner. In the team we were facing, the fact that they were down a man for most of the second half, I mean, it's a type of game that if our problems were fixed, if we truly were looking to grow and build, and we started working in the right direction, this would have been the perfect game to show that. This would have been the perfect game to say, hey, you know what? This West Ham side, they're energetic. They're at home, so they've got the crowd behind them. They get that goal, but we fight back. And then we miss a penalty, but you know what? It's okay. We'll turn it around next half. We'll get to them. Okay, they got a goal. It's fine. They just lost a man. Well, let's fight back. Let's go get them now. But we're not that team. We miss the penalty. Heads drop. Motivation drops. Energy levels drop. West Ham lose a man, so they're going to start packing it in, and we do not have the creativity or the players or the talent or the desire to go really fight and break down this back line that's going to be packed probably 5, 6, 7 men within the 6-yard box. Like that, we're not going to be able to do it. And it doesn't matter who we face. Doesn't matter whether it's West Ham, whether it's Wolves, whether it's Luton, whether it's Nottingham Forest, it doesn't matter who we face. Anybody in that bottom half of the table, they have now the script. This is how you beat Chelsea still. We thought maybe it was going to change, but nope, they're still the same. You can beat them as long as you score a goal, get lucky, counterattack on them, then pack it in. That's all it takes to beat us still, because we've not fixed any of those freaking problems. So, yep, this season for me, high hopes, low hopes now. I'm not looking forward to seeing. I mean, the only hope I have now is that maybe at least Pochettino will use this as a motivator and be like, yeah, well, you know what? This has got to be better. Maybe he'll get into the side now, because that was nowhere near good enough. But we'll see what happens. That's it for me, though. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game today? Let me know what you can talk about and discuss. All that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.